Welcome back to the channel, it's Andy, and one of my favourite things to do on Football Manager every year is to check out the new database by the Mad Scientist FM. We've done this for probably about 4 years or so, where we'll look at a retro database that the Mad Scientist has created for Football Manager, going back in time to another period. And this year it is the 1998-1999 season, so we are just after the World Cup in France. France winning their very first World Cup, of course Zidane, that absolute masterclass in the final against Brazil. And this database is set just after that World Cup. We are in July 1998. And again, thank you to the Mad Scientist for putting, as always, so much effort and hard work and love and time into these databases. Like, we're talking like 1,000+ hours in the editor, in the FM editor. If you're watching this video, the database is currently available for you to download. The link is in the description where you can get it for yourself and have a look around for yourself. There's also links down below to Mad Scientist's Twitter, Twitch, and his Patreon page as well. If you donate, I think it's still $1. If you donate a minimum of $1, you will get early access to future databases, and also there's links there where you can get face packs and logos for the databases as well. But I'll leave all the socials in the description as well. Where best to start than my club, Liverpool in the Premier League. I was not quite 8 years old. We're in July 1998, so I was not quite 8 years old. I was a very fresh football fan. You know, Liverpool was the team that I sort of supported. You know, it was just before Michael Owen had come through that I sort of decided Liverpool was my team. You had guys like Robbie Fowler and John Barnes and Jamie Redknapp. That was kind of my Liverpool team, like when I was, you know, first getting into football. And Liverpool had very recently appointed Gerard Houllier as the manager, as he sort of took over alongside Roy Evans for a little while before Roy stepped aside. Roy Evans had been manager for about 4 years or so before that. Like, David James was one of the goalkeepers, Brad Friedel as well, both 27 years of age. And in the defence, you've got Rigobert Song from Cameroon, Stig Inge Bjørneby. I remember, I used to have, do you remember the big, I don't know what they're actually called. I think we used to call them big heads. I really remember having David James and Stig Bjørneby and Jamie Redknapp and Paul Ince, but I distinctly remember having like those big head like figures that you got with like magazines or cereals or something like that. Over this midfield, you've got Steve McManaman, age 26, Jamie Redknapp, 25, Paul Ince, age 30, of course, went on to play for you know, a number of other teams, had a number of years at Man United as well. Patrick Berger got on the left of midfield as well, the Czech winger, and then Michael Owen and Robbie Fowler, the front two. These were the two players which made me fall in love with Liverpool FC. Robbie Fowler at 23, just a phenomenal player. 20 finishing, 20 heading, just naturally fit. Those mentals are insane as well. He was just a fabulous footballer. And the Michael Owen, of course, he just had that World Cup where, you know, he burst onto the scene, the 18-year-old, and he looks absolutely ridiculous. 19 finishing, 20 pace and acceleration. He's just unbelievable. Look at this, the attributes on him. That's mad. Steven Gerrard on the bench as well as 18. But that's the Liverpool side. Manchester United would go on to win the 98-99 Premier League season. Alex Ferguson, of course, manager of Man United for well over a decade at this point, and would go on to manage for another like 15 years or so. And I think this was the year he got knighted as well. He got the knighthood. But Manchester United, let's have a look at their team. Peter Schmeichel in goal, age 34. You know, he'd been at Man United for a number of years here, a good 7 years or so. One of the best goalkeepers I think there's ever been. And then, you know, the class of 92 starting to really break into the first team and you know, really cement their status as some of the best players in England, like Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Nicky Butt, David Beckham, Paul Scholes. And of course you had Dwight York up top, the Trinidadian. Ryan Giggs would become just an ever-present figure. Again, for another 15 years or so, just ever-present at Manchester United. Ole Solskjaer on the bench, Teddy Sheringham at 32, Dennis Irwin still playing as well at 32 years old, still around the side. Current champions of the Premier League, Arsenal. Arsene Wenger, of course, had now been in charge for a little while, a couple of years. So he was, you know, managing this Arsenal side, which had some fantastic some fantastic players like the defence, like Dixon, Keown and Winterburn, Freddie Ljungberg in the side at 21, Patrick Vieira at 22, Overmars and Bergkamp, of course, part of that Dutch side from the 90s, Anelka at 19, David Seaman at 34, still around Arsenal, of course, Tony Adams on the bench, of course, former captain. Chelsea, of course, are still a number of years away from the Roman Abramovich takeover. They're managed by Gianluca Vialli, who sadly is no longer with us. He passed away last month. But this Chelsea side still had some talent in it. Graham Lasso, part of that England squad. Frank Leboeuf in the back four as well. There's Desailly, who's part of the France side that won the World Cup in '98. Di Matteo there as well. Gianfranco Zola. And then I've got Gus Poyet, who become quite a notable manager. In the reserves, John Terry, 15 heading, but only 5 jumping reach. His feet were nailed to the ground, it seems, but some good mentals in there, and that leadership, which we go on to see for a number of years. And we can look at the season preview here and see sort of what this, like, the Dream 11 from the time was, and we've gone through like sort of most of these players. There was a guy at Spurs though called David Ginola, 31 years of age. He was again a very talented player down that left hand side for a Spurs side managed by George Graham. And they had Ian Walker in their side, Sol Campbell in that back line, Tim Sherwood in their midfield. Of course, we've gone on to be a manager, Les Ferdinand, striker. We can look at some other key players on the right-hand side here, see who else we possibly have. There's Alan Shearer, of course, at Newcastle United, Mark Bosnich, Gareth Southgate at Aston Villa, Paul Gascoigne at Middlesbrough, 31 years of age. He's very good. Look at those technicals. Really good with the ball, passing and dribbling. Gascoigne was still brilliant in the late 90s. That's kind of what the Premier League looks like in 1998. So let's go and have a look at another league, shall we? Let's go and have a look at another league. We can go into France and look at Ligue 1 and see what that looks like. Now, the Ligue 1 winners last time were Lens. The one and only time I believe that Lens won the Ligue 1. But Lens, the side that won the Ligue 1 title the previous season. We can look at the season preview for Ligue 1. Have a look at some of their very best players. Fabien Barthez, goalkeeper at Monaco. Is that Laurent Blanc? Yeah, Laurent Blanc playing at Marseille. And then looking at this, like we've got like a 3-4-1-2 here. We've got JJ Okocha sitting in that attacking midfield playing at Paris Saint-Germain. And then he's playing behind Trezeguet here, David Trezeguet, 20 years of age at Monaco. And Varela, a French striker who plays for Lens, the champions. So that's kind of what the Ligue 1 looks like. Gregory Coupé there as well. Goalkeeper, Robert Pires at Marseille as well. I mean, again, we can look at some of these big sides and look for some players in these youth teams and see who we could potentially find in terms of, you know, future stars. Doesn't seem to be anyone at PSG. What about Monaco? Let's have a look at Monaco and see if they have any prospects in their youth team. I wouldn't say Squillaci was one of those, but at least I know who he is. No, not really seeing anybody that I recognise. Let's go on to Germany and the Bundesliga. And again, a surprise winner in Germany in 1998. Kaiserslautern won the Bundesliga title. Again, I think that's the one and only time that they won that. Michael Ballack, at 21 years old, playing at Kaiserslautern, central midfielder, played a number of times for Germany. FC Bayern were runners-up, managed by Ottmar Hitzfeld. And we can have a look, and there's Oliver Kahn, of course, again, one of the very best goalkeepers there's ever been. There's Marcus Babbel, who I remember from his Liverpool career. Bayer Leverkusen were in third place. So you've got Borussia Dortmund also. We can have a look at Dortmund's side. We've got Day there. Jens Lehmann, goalkeeper, who go on to play for Arsenal, of course. But again, we can look at the Dream 11. There's Lizarazu. We've got Babbel on the other side. Nowotny, Zé Roberto, Andreas Müller, Elba. So that's kind of how Germany looks. We can go into Italy, Serie A, of course. Channel 4 was where it was for Italian football. And the Serie A champions Juventus winning their second straight title. Carlo Ancelotti in charge of the old lady. Edgar Davids in this side. Who else have we got here? You got Tudor, Deschamps, Antonio Conte playing here. Zinedine Zidane, of course, we've mentioned him before with the World Cup in France. Just an outstanding player and an outstanding performance in that final. Del Piero here as well, age 23. Thierry Henry, age 20. Pippo Inzaghi, age 24. Runners-up were Inter Milan, managed by Lukaku. We can look at Inter Milan Taribo West, Javier Zanetti, Silvestre would go on to play for Man United and Arsenal. Andrea Pirlo at 19 years old. Djorkaeff, age 30. Roberto Baggio still here, 31 years of age. There's Ronaldo. Of course, he had a fantastic World Cup with Brazil, the runners-up. He'd go on to score a number of goals for Brazil over various tournaments, eventually overtaken by Klose for all-time World Cup goals. I think Ronaldo got 14 goals in the World Cup. I think it's 14, but that was over, I think, 3 tournaments, 98, 02 and 06. I might be wrong, but yeah, Ronaldo's fantastic. Like, I'll always go for R9 over CR7 any day. Udinese maybe surprisingly in 3rd place, but seeing as it's the Mad Scientist database, I can't really not mention Parma, the side that the Mad Scientist supports, and find Gianluigi Buffon, 20 years of age. Like, Buffon's back at Parma now, like 25 years later. That's just amazing, the fact that he's still going after all this time, and he's back where it all started as well. I think that's a fabulous story. But yeah, I mean, we can look at this Parma side as well, the rest of it. Like, Cannavaro's here, 24 years of age. He'd go on to be one of the best defenders in the world, win a Ballon d'Or. Lilian Thuram as well, fantastic defender. Juan Veron, we know from his future in the Premier League. Hernan Crespo as well, Champions League final scorer. Crespo, of course, would go on to play for AC Milan and Chelsea. Asprilla, fantastic player for Colombia. We'll do Portugal and Scotland. We'll look at Spain and we'll look at La Liga and see how that looks. Barcelona winning the La Liga title under Louis van Gaal. Of course, no Messi. We're still a number of years away from seeing Lionel Messi, but still a great Barcelona side with Frank de Boer in this side. Josep Guardiola, Xavi, 18 years of age. Luis Enrique, future Barca manager. Luis Figo at 25 years old. He'd go on to break the record for a transfer, I think, or did Zidane beat it? I don't remember. Rivaldo at 26 years old again was instrumental in that Brazil side. 19 goals in that previous season for Barcelona. That's a good tally. Patrick Kluivert as well. But look at the Barca's youth team. There's Victor Valdez. There's Mikel Arteta as well. Of course, yeah, no Lionel Messi, as I said. No Cristiano Ronaldo either. We can go and look at Real Madrid, who are not in the top 3, surprisingly. 97 they won it, but yeah, no, didn't get the top 3. John Toshak in charge of Real Madrid. Clarence Seedorf won various Champions League titles, 22 years of age. Again, a phenomenal player. Guti in his Real Madrid side. Raul at 21 years old. Davos Šuker, fantastic for Croatia, who made it all the way to the semi-final of the World Cup. Great one for them. And you've got Iker Casillas in the youth team as well, 17 years old. Goalkeeper that we're going to have, of course, a huge future again. Another one of those brilliant goalkeepers. And we can look at La Liga and have a look at, you know, the preview for them. Let's see who else we have here. Hesp goalkeeper. Roberto Carlos, Real Madrid, 25 years of age, of course. Michel Salgado. And the front 3 we've kind of looked at. Like, very much dominated by Barcelona and Real Madrid, this Dream 11 in Spain. But we can look on the right-hand side and find Juninho there. Echeverria at Bilbao Canizares. We can have a brief look at Scotland, look at the old firm, look at Celtic and Rangers and see how they look. Celtic here, Alan Stubbs here, Paul Lambert, Henrik Larsson, Mark Viduka up top before he go on to join Leeds United. We can look at Rangers on the other side of the old firm. We've got Antti Niemi. He is Finnish and he's not quite 28 either. Also Van Bronckhorst, Barry Ferguson. Is McCoy still playing or is he retired? Ali McCoy still playing, 35 years old, centre forward for Kilmarnock. So he is still knocking about. Free transfer, probably not far away from retiring as well. I think at this point, was he doing Question of Sport? Because I think was it him and Parrott used to do it, John Parrott? I think that's around the time period we are. I'm not quite sure. I suppose seeing as Portugal's loaded, we can look at Portugal. But let's just have a look at the season preview and see who we might be able to find here. Rui Jorge, Zajovic. Yeah, I don't really know this too well, really. Not too familiar with this. Simao, I think I've heard of, if it's the same one that I know. Deco, though, 20 years of age. he looks really good. He looks really, really good. I really like how this looks. You know, again, like I always enjoy seeing these databases and looking at how much effort the mad scientist puts in. So yeah, I really enjoy looking at it. I mean, we can look at some national squads maybe. Where's the England squad? Let's have a look at it. Glenn Hoddle, England manager after that World Cup, of course. David Seaman in goal, Adam Southgate. Like, we've seen all these players. We have Ferdinand, Lasso, Ince, Petit. What we could do is go down to the under-21s, look at the future of England. Gareth Barry playing at centre-back, because he's going to become a midfielder. Wes Brown, Jamie Carragher there. Gerard Lampard, who's at West Ham United, age 20. Where do the Hammers look like? Managed by Harry Redknapp. Who else have we got here? Shaka Hislop in goal. Well, that's a blast from the past. Razor Ruddock. There's Rio. Julian Dix. I just wanted to say the word Dix, honestly. Joe Cole at 16. He was a really promising guy for West Ham. And, you know, he had a decent enough career, Joe Cole, didn't he? Trevor Sinclair, Paolo Di Canio. Of course, he scored one of the all-time Premier League goals for West Ham United as well. But seeing as France did win the 1998 World Cup, let's have a look at the France side, managed by Roger Lemaire. We'll have a look at them. Barthez in goal. Like, you've got Blanc, you've got Leboeuf, Thuram, Desailly, Deschamps, Vieira, Petit, Zidane, Djorkaeff, Trezeguet. Yeah, just a phenomenal squad. And again, and then, you know, Brazil didn't just have like Ronaldo and Rivaldo, of course, Roberto Carlos. Didi was just coming through. Like Tafarel played in the World Cup, I believe. But there's Cafu, of course. He was absolute legend. There's Rivaldo. There's Ronaldo. I think Romario might have just retired after the World Cup. He's playing in Brazil for Flamengo, age 32. Yeah, I could look at this all day, but this video needs to be a sensible length. So I think we'll leave it there. But what I think we will do, what we'll definitely do, is next video, we're going to take this database and we're going to jump forward like a good 25 years to 2023, to present day, and essentially rewrite the past quarter of a century of football and see how things look. If we were to follow this timeline and see what happens. And who knows, there might be a save coming with this database. I did one a couple of years ago with Sheffield United on an old database. I think that was 06-07. So who knows, you might get a save out of this database. We'll have to wait and see if I can find a team that I want to play as. Like, imagine playing as, I mean, let's take, for example, Man City. Not only not in the Premier League, in the second division, they're in the third tier. So they are 2 promotions away from getting into the Premier League. And of course, they're in the news at the moment for, well, possibly getting points deductions, probably not getting thrown out of the league, but they're in big trouble. Next video, we'll definitely be taking this and simulating it to present day. And as always, thank you to the mad scientist for always putting in so much hard work and effort into these databases and so much of your time. I really enjoy them, and it's always one of the highlights of the FM year, the retro databases. And this one's no exception. I really enjoy looking around and excited to see what happens when we sim it to present day. I want to see what that looks like, so I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, leave comments, and subscribe if you haven't, or if you're new, turn your notifications on, and make sure you go and follow the Bad Scientist on all the socials as well. Follow his Twitter, and if you do want to donate on Patreon, any future databases you will get early access if you pledge at least $1 a month. So yeah, go and follow him, go and follow me, and thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.